Good evening, everyone. So over the weekend, MSNBC canceled Joy Reid's TV show. And according to the network, all of her wigs were quickly released back into the wild. There they go. When asked about her future plans, Ms. Reid claims she plans on spending more time with her family, accusing her relatives of racism.
Greg Gutfeld just gave Joy Reid a big talking to and didn't let any silly ideas stay standing. He made fun of her big words, showed how she was pretending to be upset, and made her whole show feel like a comedy without needing any jokes. If you've ever wanted to see someone super confident get totally owned by someone clever, this is it. Joy came with drama. Gutfeld came with facts, jokes, and a microphone that just wouldn't stop.
And I think that's the way the Trump effect is. I think after Trump won, the EU just said they're buying oil from America over Russia. I wonder why. The moment the guy wins, all of a sudden, mysteriously, the bad stuff starts going away. The Latino district that voted for Trump by 75% also voted for Clinton by a huge margin. I guess that's misogyny too. I don't know. I think Joy Reid has completely lost her rap.
Greg Gutfeld walked into the studio like he just had lunch with jokes and coffee. He had that sneaky smile, the kind that says, "I'm about to make some trouble." And his target today, Joy Reid from MSNBC, the one who's always rolling, her eyes so hard you think she might hurt herself. Gutfeld didn't need notes. He had funny comebacks and silly stuff ready to go.
Sad moment for the show. Joy Reid is out. Of course, we're heartbroken, for she provided this show with more material than a seamstress at The View. On slow news days, Joy was always there to help with a racist rant. Oh, I loved her.
He started slow, kind of like a cat getting ready to pounce. He built it up just right, like how he always does. You could almost hear his brain getting ready to drop something clever. He didn't treat Joy like a reporter or a news person. He said she was more like someone who accidentally became funny while pretending to do the news. She wasn't proving anything. He said she was just guessing and calling it journalism.
It's not racism, it's not sexism, it's brainism. We are bigoted against people who don't have brains, which is why Joy Reid takes this so personally.
Y'all voted with Stephen Miller and David Duke and against your own sisters and chose Kamala Harris with 60% of their votes. So you own everything that happens to your mixed status family and to your wives, sisters, and abuelas from here on in.
He looked at her show and shook his head, like a dad upset that his kid just tried to cook metal in a microwave. Every time Joy's show started, she yelled about how everything was terrible, about the government, about the end of the world, about how we're all doomed. It was like she was trying to be in a sad play in a parking lot. Gutfeld made fun of all that by waving his hands and gasping on purpose, turning her show into a silly dance about being scared.
Fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men. What they're saying is, we own this country and everyone will bow down to us.
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white peers, particularly male white peers.
Now, I don't like to use hyperbole, but Joy's firing is the biggest blow to racists since the Confederacy lost.
Then he talked about how Joy talks about race all the time. Gutfeld joked that she could find racism even in a cereal box if it had too many white pieces. If it rained a lot, it was unfair. If it didn't rain, it was unfair too. He said she had a recipe. Take any topic, add racism, mix it up, and serve with a side of smugness. He didn't even need to make stuff up. She already did it for him. He just came for the jokes.
But they blame whiteness for Virginia's election while saying CRT doesn't exist. It makes me miss the Clinton era when the Dems were really good at lying. So Cross was filling in for the homophobic blogger turned pundit Joy Reid, who had said the same thing.
It was education,
right,
which is code for white parents don't like the idea of teaching about race.
Yes, because if there's one thing missing in our educational system, it's America's history of racism.
Next, he joked about her clothes, not because fashion is important, but because her outfits looked like she lost a bet at a thrift store run by mad birds. Gutfeld leaned in hard, making fun of her rainbow clothes, saying they looked like a party decoration. People laughed, not because of the clothes, but because it all kind of made sense. The drama, the crazy opinions, the bright colors. But then he got serious. He brought up her old crazy theories, her made-up history, and how she always turns news into some big race story. He said Joy could turn a simple traffic report into a show about civil rights. If a squirrel ran across the street, she'd say it's about voter rules. He joked that she probably has a dartboard with pictures of old presidents just for fun, her favorite word. Dangerous, not because it's scary, but because she uses it all the time. Trump was dangerous. Republicans were dangerous. Maybe cows too. If she didn't like something, she called it a danger. Gutfeld said her view of the world was like a superhero movie, and she was the last one trying to save us from dads and stoves.
It is funny, though. How could someone named Joy Reid be so joyless and not read? There are countless articles out there on CRT and how often it's being taught in school. So Joy and Tiffany said the same thing, like people who plan to lie often will. It's like MSNBC have only one brain in the freezer, and in the handoff, they must have dropped it numerous times.
Then he picked on the way she talks. Gutfeld said listening to her was like hearing someone who swallowed a dictionary and spit out big words. She used words like dog whistle and systemic, like she was adding spices to a stew. It didn't. Whenever what the news was, she'd still make it sound like the world was ending. Gutfeld copied her voice, her pauses, and made it seem like her show needed spooky music playing behind it. He said she wasn't reporting news, she was telling ghost stories that only she believed. She didn't want to fix things, she wanted to keep people upset. She loved being angry like bugs love hot weather. But he saved his biggest joke for when he reminded everyone that Joy had once posted bad stuff online, and then said it wasn't her. She blamed computer hackers. Gutfeld laughed so hard he almost fell out of his chair. Hackers, he said, don't steal money, they steal Joy Reid's old posts from 2007. He said that wasn't just funny, it was perfect.
Because not only did cable news lose a bigot, but the bigot herself might finally get the round-the-clock care that she really needs. But you gotta wonder how she was able to last this long. The irony, of course, is in her name, for did Joy bring any joy to anyone's life? I didn't know this was a call and response show.
He wasn't done yet. He joked about how Joy tries to look like a hero, always judging others like she's a teacher giving out grades. He said she turned MSNBC into a church where she forgave herself every day by yelling at rich people, even though she works in a super fancy studio. He said her news show was like a silly word game. Pick a bad guy, pick a buzzword, shout a little, and end with a message that means nothing. He joked that if she had a cooking show, she'd somehow bring up old racist laws while making soup. Gutfeld said it wasn't just tiring, it was like a play for people who don't like facts. He even picked up one of her quotes and acted like it was a secret message. He squinted, flipped it around, and pretended it was an old scroll full of nonsense. It was perfect. The crowd lost it. Gutfeld turned weird words into a comedy show. And then came her attitude. Gutfeld said Joy acts like she's giving a serious talk but to house plants. Her voice, her look, her eyebrows, like she was upset that America isn't more like Brooklyn. He said listening to her was like being told what to think by a barista who believes oat milk can change the world.
But think about it. I'm willing to bet no one ever said, you know, I was going through a tough period in my life, and listening to Joy Reid really got me through it. If anything, it was their tough periods in life that got them through Joy Reid. But that's the problem with MSNBC and legacy media. Their income was based on making life work.
Then he made fun of how she always thinks the worst will happen. Gutfeld showed clips of Joy saying scary stuff about Trump, the courts, the economy, even the weather. Then he showed how nothing she said actually happened. It was like watching someone yell, "The sky is falling," while holding an umbrella made of silliness. But his biggest joke, he said Joy was like a robot gone wrong. She talked non-stop, repeated buzzwords, and got upset no matter what. He joked that someone gave this robot too many college essays and not enough common sense. She kept calling everything racist, until the word didn't mean anything anymore. If everyone's racist, then no one is. If everything is white supremacy, then nothing is. Gutfeld said she made real problems seem silly by acting like every argument was a hate crime and every news story was about civil rights. For Joy, he joked, just having a different opinion was evil.
Can we put Joy Reid back up there? You know, I was looking at Joy Reid, I'm thinking, you know, my brother-in-law, when we used to go to 49er games, he's a big 49er fan. He used to paint his face, you know, gold and silver. And you can tell that Joy Reid is totally in Trump's camp because she's wearing his hair. And I think that's a sign she knew he was going to win. She wanted to be on the winning side. Look at that. That's Trump's hair.
He said her fans don't watch her for truth. They watch her to feel like good people. Joy didn't give them facts. She made them feel like heroes. And MSNBC let her do it because drama makes more money than facts. Truth takes work, but being mad just needs a camera. Then Gutfeld joked about the faces she makes, like when someone says something slightly conservative, and she looks like she smelled something gross. He copied her face, half shocked, half sad, like a normal. The idea just ruined her day. He said Joy didn't argue. She ignored. She didn't think. She scolded. And when someone used real facts, she dodged like a magician using the race card as a trick. Gutfeld said she made a whole career by acting upset and never saying anything new. And just when it seemed like he was done, he came back around. He said Joy Reid was like a super long Twitter thread written by someone who studied feelings and panic in school. She was like MSNBC's alarm clock, always trying to wake people up, even though most people stopped listening a long time ago.
Meanwhile, in an interview, border czar Tom Homan called Joy Reid dumber than a box of rocks. The American Geological Society has demanded an apology. So Comcast is getting rid of MSNBC. And as predicted, Joy Reid is already blaming white women and white men.
Then came his fake apology, something Gutfeld loves to do. He looked serious, dropped his voice, and said maybe he was being mean. Maybe Joy Reid had a point. Maybe we do need to talk about racist stop signs or how capitalism ruins bad hair. Dazed, but he couldn't keep a straight face. He started laughing, and the crowd laughed too. Then he leaned back, sipped his coffee, and said Joy's biggest talent wasn't teaching or helping. It was turning silly stuff into an art show. Every time she spoke, it was like painting panic on a news screen, and he wasn't done. There's always more. Because with Joy Reid, the jokes just write themselves. Gutfeld didn't need to make things up. He just had to point at them with a big bright sign. It was news comedy that didn't even need jokes.
This is music to the ears of Latinos who want a tougher border and back Trump big time, giving him historic numbers for a Republican. But instead of dealing with that reality, Joy Reid's trying to shame Latino men.
Latino men who, despite the utter disrespect shown by Trump and his promise to deport some of your mixed-class, mixed-status families, most of them voted in a 55% majority to make the deportations happen. Y'all voted with Stephen Miller and David Duke and against your own sisters and chose Kamala Harris with 60% of their votes. So you own everything that happens to your mixed status family.
The setup was already funny, so he kept going. More jokes, more roasting, more laughs from the crowd, more angry comments from critics. Because in Gutfeld's world, logic is sharp, sarcasm is important, and Joy Reid is the gift that keeps giving. Gutfeld smiled, threw up his hands like a guy who just got through a storm made of angry opinions and recycled complaints. He said, watching Joy Reid explain the economy is like watching someone talk about science using puppets and TikTok slang. She used big words, added lots of feelings, and somehow blamed bad coffee on capitalism. Gutfeld said if Joy ever lost her screen, she'd just start yelling random words until the lights turned off by themselves. It wasn't news anymore. It was a performance full of glitter and confusion.